Hi, my name is James Orvis, and in today's video we're going to look at making a dub techno synth. So I've got an example here by Quantech called My Safe Harbour, so let's just have a quick listen to this. So I can't play too long of that because we'll get flagged by YouTube, but that gives you a basic idea of what we're trying to go for. We're not going to aim to create the exact same sound, but just a sound that would fit into that genre. So we're going to be using Pigments, and I'm just going to reset this so it's a new preset. There we go. So yeah, we're using Pigments for this, and you can apply the same techniques to any synth. And what I'm going to do, like I've done in previous synth design tutorials, is I'm not going to just take you from A to B and say that's the sound. I'm going to show you a couple of tricks along the way and things that you can manipulate yourself and tweak yourself, because there's a million different ways to create this sound. And I'm just going to show you the main components that make up the dub techno kind of synth sound, and then you can sculpt it to your heart's desire. So let's go ahead and start with the oscillators, which is always a good place to start. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to bring this down to -12, and I'm going to go to the unison setting, and I'm going to click on chords. And what we're going to do is add 3 voices, and we're going to set this to minor. Next thing we want to do is move this from sine wave to saw wave. And then we're also going to add a bit of noise in as well, just to add a bit of grit. So if you just go to this modulator and click on white noise and bring the volume up, that can be done to taste. Again, with the voices as well, you can add more in if you want. We're going to stick with 3 because that works quite nicely, just the triad of the 3 minor notes. And the next thing we want to look at is the filter. Obviously, that's a big part of the dub sound. So we got a bit of resonance there. And you can experiment with the different filter modes and also the different modes here as well, which we'll get onto in a second. Once I've added some effects, that'll make more sense. So yeah, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add an envelope to this filter. So let's go ahead and do that. And I'm also going to set this to 12 as well, just to add a bit more grit. Let's a bit more of the top frequencies through. So let's go back to envelope 2, and we're going to apply that to this filter. Sounds okay already, but what we're going to do now is just go into envelopes, and it's this one here. And you can kind of sculpt this to how you feel it should sound as well. So you can open up the decay, have it quite short and stabby, or somewhere in between. And another cool thing to play around with is the attack as well. Let's give you that kind of sound. And you could go ahead and program them so they show up on the macros, or you could modulate them using Ableton's. If you go to the group thing here and you go to the macros, you can set up some macros there, so you can manipulate this when you make your track. But we're going to leave it there for now. That kind of works for me. It's already sounding quite dubby already. And the next thing we want to be looking at is effects, because that is a big part of the sound as well, especially the delays and the reverbs. So the first thing I want to look at is a phaser. And what I did to save time is I made my own dub phaser preset. So just a little bit of something there, and you can take note of those if you want and copy those over. And the next thing I want to add is a delay. Again, just to save a bit of time, I made my own little dub delay. So it's using 1/8 in 1/8 Ds. Quite a bit of feedback, and I've also sculpted the low pass and high pass filter as well, and it's quite wet, so I've got it on 50%. And the next thing we want to do is add a reverb. So initially I used the reverb in here. Again, added a preset. So quite a long reverb, and then I've sculpted out the sub and also dampened it a little bit. Even though I liked that, I really like Lustrous Plate by Slate. I feel like that lends itself really well to the dub sound, just a bit more grittier type sound. And what we're going to do before we start working on this bit a little bit more is I'm going to go ahead and add some processing. So here we've got Slate's virtual tape, which I use quite a lot. This is just to add some more of that kind of analog warm goodness. And again, we've got the slate channel set up. And a bit of compression. And then I've got decapitator on here, just to add a little bit more grit. And then finally, we've got Equality by DMG, but you can use any kind of EQ. I should sculpt out this subby bit here. And let's go back to the synth itself. So there's a bit of processing there, and you can experiment with that as well. I've seen people use like Ableton Saturator. You can use FabFilter as a saturator with some of our Audiotent presets and things like that. So you can really experiment with these different components that make up the sound, which I highly recommend doing. These are just a few things that I found work for me, but you can chop and change and experiment with those. So yeah, now we've got the basic kind of sound going. I want to talk a little bit more about the filters. So obviously we've got cutoff, we've got resonance that we can play with. We can play with the modes as well. One thing I like to do is stick it on bandpass. Obviously playing with the envelopes as well. You can get all different types of sounds coming through that way. Like I said, it's really good to map these as well. So let's go back to low pass 12. And we can also play with things like comb and phaser as well, so let's try these. You can add some more poles in there. And also you can play with the feedback as well. So yeah, there's them that you can do. We've got comb filtering. Maybe not comb filtering as such, or formant, but yeah, you can play around with them. And we've got the Matrix 12 and the mini filters as well. Give you different flavors, different sounds. But for now, just for the demo, we'll stick it on multi-mode LP12. And another thing that I want to kind of talk about as well is the idea of using LFOs. So you can go in and you can send LFOs to the filter, or in this case, using Pigments, you can use the functions, which I really like. So if we go to functions 1, send that to the cutoff. So that's really nice, just as it is like that. And you can obviously change the sync rate. You could put it into triplets or dotted. Or a really cool thing that you can do, oops, wrong one. With obviously functions is you can draw in your own presets, or you could use some of these in here, like this. Change this back to bandpass. So you can really get experimental with those. There's other things you can do as well, like you could just put a subtle LFO on the filter. So if we turn this one off, get rid of that. You can also go to like say LFO1, apply that to this, and just kind of have it moving around slowly. So if we go to LFO1, bring the sync rate down. You can see how it's moving now. Probably work better if I stick it on this one. And bring the envelope down a little bit. Probably help if I take this off as well. So you want this kind of free running actually. That's the reason why it wasn't working. So yeah, you can see that that's a really good way to kind of just keep everything moving. And that's something I like to do with my sounds as well. So obviously experiment with the LFOs and send them to different things as well. You could even really experiment and kind of move this a little bit. Move like the waveform and stuff like that. Just gradually over time, so everything's kind of organic and moving around. I feel like that's a big part of the dub techno sound as well. Having like really analog, rich, organic sounds. So yeah, that brings us to the end of the tutorial, and I hope that's give you enough tools in your toolkit to go ahead and start creating your own dub techno synth sounds. Let us know in the comments if you found this useful. If you have any techniques yourself for creating dub techno synths that you think is just like brilliant and it really, really kind of works, I would love to hear that, because I really want to check those out and give them a try as well. If there's specific synths that are really good for this, or if you've got some plugins that just work wonders for this kind of sound, please let us know in the comment section below. Like I said, can't wait to check those out, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thank you.